Okay, I got it. Yeah, I see that. Yeah, perfect.
Okay, so the theme of this webinar is the masculine energy of a man that's adored by women. And we're going to dive deep into that topic. One of the things I've been liking or enjoying doing with Zan lately, I'm trying to get the lighting right here. Yeah, it's good as I'm going to get it right there. I've been doing with Zan lately, and I really want to continue to do with a lot of my interviews, is diving deeper into a single topic rather than trying to cover Zan's wide spectrum of things he's learned and experienced. Everybody does that, right? We talk about your whole experience and how you do what you do. And I love this idea that we kind of played with in Bucharest. We take one topic and drive deep down into it. If you guys haven't seen the 4-part series we did with Zan, definitely check those out. It was a really fun series. I really enjoyed doing it. So in this case, we're going to be talking about the masculine energy of a man that's adored by women. And it's something you write about in your book, The Alabaster Girl. And I'm just going to let you kind of play with that a little bit and start off. What does that mean to you?
Specifically that?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, my whole book was trying to capture the spirit of that, you know. I spent my whole life trying to observe and sit in the energy and wonder about the spirit of men who have women in their life. What do they do differently? Without going, you know, initially you think it's all the techniques and something they're wearing or the things they say. And then what I learned in my years of studying the craft, so to speak, is that it's there's a way that they vibrate. I also say it. There's an energy they have. So I try to capture that in words in my book, The Alabaster Girl. It took me 10 years to write it, and that's all I was writing about. Was like, I wasn't really, even though it's a book about women, it's really a book about the vibration that women respond to in men, I guess you could say.
Yeah, it's interesting because we were doing a video yesterday, or a series of Instagram videos, the 7 natural laws, which is laws that apply to everything and how everything works. And one of the laws is the law of rhythm. And if you go out in life and you look at life, everything has a rhythm to it. Like surfing has a rhythm, music has a rhythm. Even whatever business you choose to build is going to have a rhythm and cycles within that business and within the marketing of it and the product of it and the sales, and men and women have a rhythm. And I can't tell you how many guys I think are trying to violate that rhythm all the time, and it just won't work. I mean, you can't violate it and succeed. You've got to work with the rhythm.
Yeah, I talked to a guy yesterday that he says, you know, I go on a date with a girl or I meet a girl and I always get into this banter. He says, I find myself getting into what he called banter. What he meant by that, he gets into the initial fun approach that he might say or give, and then she responds, and then he switches over to, so do you live here, and how long have you lived here, and I've lived here for 10 years, and where do you go to school? He gets into this, his energy drains into this rapport type of normal conversation.
That's
loses his heart. And what I explained to him, because it's true, is as soon as you dribble yourself down into that kind of a conversation, there's no vibration from you anymore. There's dead air. It's just dead. And you can feel it. You can feel it. You're just saying words. She's responding. You're saying more words. You're getting less and less connected. There's more distance, and it's a downward spiral. You can't get out of it. And the whole thing, like you said, Brian, is a vibration. So there's a rhythm. There's an absolute rhythm when you're injecting yourself into the space of someone you haven't known before, the girl, and you say hello, and it's you give her space to respond, and you move in, and you give up, virtually moving in. I move physically because that's just me, but you don't have to. You can be the strong silent type who's James Bond, and still your eyes have a rhythm to them. Your smile, where you nod your head, it's all a vibration that's forced or shape-shifted towards her. It's so interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting because you're really going into more of the subcommunication, which I love that you're doing, because I love subcommunication. and I know exactly what you're talking about. This guy you're talking about that you just described, paying attention, like I'm supposed to do banter first. This is the rules. And then I'm supposed to do this deep rapport where I start asking her about herself. That's his system. And rather than what you're saying is where is she at right now? And what does the moment want? What does the feeling want right now? And is the energy high? And then I'm trying to force it to go low at the wrong time. Where's the energy going? And can I play with that energy? Can I dance with that energy? Is that kind of what you're saying? The way you're saying it?
Yeah. It's like, as soon as there's a recovery happens in there. As soon as I feel like the energy is draining down into this normal conversation, I announce it and break it. I announce it mid-sentence. I say, wait a minute, this is dumb. I don't want to talk about this. I just met you. I want to know something about you. Let's go get some ice cream. I understand who this girl is. We started to go down this path. I know that's not interesting to me. Small talk.
Well, let's take a look at that. What's the difference in your mind? What's the difference between normal conversation? Like you could say, do you live here in a normal way? But then you can also ask the same question in a playful way, right? Or how do you see it? What's the difference for you in this normal, boring conversation and the way you do it?
If you meet a girl and she's at a library, say, or bookstore or something, she's lonely and she's open, receptive to meeting a guy, and you ask her questions, do you live nearby, and which is your favorite coffee shop, it can be very good for you. So I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but in the majority of cases, for sure, it becomes this yes-no of her answering your boring conversation questions with yes, no, and there's nothing engaging in it. And my whole thing is like the whole thing should be fun and playful. You could say the same things. You could ask her where she's living, but it should be fun and sparkling and playful and energetic and a real curiosity in your spirit. There's got to be an aliveness in you, and not a woodenness. If you can, like I tell you, the guy I was coaching yesterday, his whole thing is he's creating this new type of psychology or philosophy for changing the world in his work. And when he talks about, he's on fire, he's lit up, he's like this, and he's so devoted to it that when he goes and talks to girls, it's like a side job for him. So he erases that from him, and he says, okay, now I have to be in girl talk mode. So where do you live and how long you've lived here, sort of thing. And his whole personality is disappeared. What he loves doesn't show up in his eyes and his voice and everything. I said, talk about what your vision is. Talk about, be that guy. So it's to bring forth what we're excited in life about when we talk to a girl. And you're actually excited about this too. Maybe you won't, but I'm excited about it. So that's cool to me. You know? Yeah. As opposed to switching into this guy who now has to be normal and interesting and talk about mundane things.
Yeah. We always say that you got to be a little turned on for the girl you're talking to, or the idea of talking to girls, you got to be turned on. Like if you go out and it's a job, there's something wrong. I mean, going out and talking to girls, if it feels, and I see so many guys do this, they go out, they've been going out for months on end and they've turned it into a job. I have to go out, I have to talk to so many girls, I have to get these men numbers, I have to get this, and if I don't get this, and they've lost that spontaneity and that fun. Do you run into guys like that?
I'll tell you, I had a guy, bless his heart, who was dead sincere, and for 2 years he went out every day, every weekend. He kept an Excel spreadsheet, and he showed it to me. And he had 3,000 exactly to the point, 3,000 rows in that spreadsheet of girls he approached. And he put down the corner where he approached them, all the details across in the spreadsheet, the responses he got. In that 2 years, in 3,000 approaches, he got 3 phone numbers, 1 date, 0 intimate experiences in 2 years. Yeah. And I'm thinking, and I said, well, what? So I went out with him. He says, you can come watch me. I'll take a little, earpiece. And so I said, okay, I'll follow along. So I'm like walking half a block behind him. And in his apartment, when I was talking to him, he was engaging, interesting background, cool guy, well dressed, got a cool job, good looking guy, and articulate and funny. And I'm thinking, what if this guy was in my house in Bucharest? All the girls would love him. He's a great guy.
This is. Do we both know this guy?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I was thinking of the bald head, Miami. So I don't
No,
want to say.
no. This is different. I'm not saying any city, so it's not recognizable. But it wasn't him. Anyway, we get out on the street, and he's so personable in person. And I'm thinking, this guy, what the heck? And he gets out on the street, and he walks up to the girls on the corner, and he stops them, and they pull out their head buds, and they're looking like this, and he turns into this raging, weird, red-faced, fierce, wooden, leaning back, chopping sentences at her guy. I said, what? He said, well, that's what I was taught from the pickup artist community. I'm like, where's the guy that's in your apartment that's being cool and being normal and hanging out? And that's a cool guy. All the girls I know would love him. And he could not, and we went out the next day too. He couldn't do it. He couldn't break that pattern. And I'm like taking him by the lapel. I'm like, listen, stop. I go right in the middle of it. Say, excuse me, girl. Listen, you're doing it again. Relax, put this, now talk to her again. And it took him that entire weekend to break that mold of him trying to do his job, adding another line to the spreadsheet. I did my 50 approaches this week. So I'm good now. And not one of them, not one was a connected thing. And all the girls that I saw in that weekend were leaning away from him going, what are you saying? But I have to go like this and getting away as fast as he could. 100%.
It's fascinating. I heard you tell the story before, and I think about it because it's fascinating because I've met so many guys like this. They'll come to you after. I remember one guy came to me. He'd been studying hardcore, this type of stuff for 7 years. And he was the weirdest, strangest, most bizarre, had this weird body mechanics and walked funny because he'd been taught how to walk, talk, stand, carry, and it was all in his head. So he had this world of how to be cool from his head. And now he was super strange. And what I find is it's like this guy you're talking about. Here he is going out every day for how long did you say?
2 years.
2 years. 50 approaches a week?
I don't know, but he had 3,000.
3,000?
Exactly 3,000. He quit at 3,000 and said, I'm going to call Zan.
No, that's exactly why it was so hard for him to change. He is now ingrained such a bad habit. All these neural pathways are built in his brain and his nervous system. You ask him to suddenly be spontaneous. Oh my God, how do I do that? I've been doing this for how long? How do I stop doing something I've ingrained into my body so deeply? And how do I just become normal again? Which is what we're teaching. I always see it that the work we're doing, and we're going to be doing something in Miami together pretty soon. It's all about, that whole event is all about helping guys stop doing all this weird stuff and just starting to be normal again.
There's so many guys that I talk in person and they're hanging out in my apartment, or I meet them and think, be this guy right here. Be that guy. Show up like this. Yeah, that's a cool guy. The girl's going to love you. And they get out there and they turn into some other persona because they think they have to. And it's incredible.
How about this one? How many guys do you run into that are really attractive and women get attracted to them and they don't know it, they can't see it, and they're constantly rejecting the women, not realizing they're rejecting the women and walking away from it, wearing the women don't like them?
A ton.
Yeah.
Every time I do, for instance, my customer experience, where I take 2 students and walk around them for 4 or 5 days, right? All the girls I know meet him and say, why is he here? Why is he here? Like, he seems like he's, there you go. But in the guy's mind, he can't see it. He can only see his own insecurities, his own quote unquote failings. And it's shocking. If they could only see themselves the way others see them, they think, well, that's pretty cool, actually.